Welcome back to another episode of our Eagle Perspective podcast. I'm Mike Siciliano, Dean of Students of the Upper School. I am joined today by, I say this all the time, but two of my all-time favorites.
Oh,
for reals this
stop.
time. For reals. Two alumni, graduates of Santa Fe Christian, Andrew Buchanan, class of 2012.
That's correct.
Bradley Searle, class of 2011.
That is right.
Welcome back to Santa Fe.
Thank you so much.
What's it like to be back here first?
Wow, it was. It brought back a lot of emotion, a lot of great memories.
Yeah.
Some not so great memories as I was driving up the road. But
okay, so you got to share one of each now.
oh man, where do I start? Great memories. We were talking about this last night. We used to go to Fry's in San Marcos on Friday nights. As seniors, and I guess you were a junior, we'd bring freshman guys. It was kind of like a mentorship.
Yeah,
we didn't
sure,
do Bible
'cause
study.
Of course you do mentorship at
At
Fry's.
Fry's, yeah. Where else? We had office chair races.
Okay.
We watched the same trailer, 30-second trailer over and
On
over
all
again.
the different TVs?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, it was
right.
great. There was a sound booth, and we
Uh-huh.
did dance parties.
Yeah.
It was such a dude thing. It was great.
Good, clean
Go to
fun.
In-N-Out or Chick-fil-A after.
Awesome.
That was definitely one of the highlights. Low lights, man, we'll save that for later.
Okay.
Yeah, let's warm up a little bit.
Okay, what about you, Andrew?
Yeah,
I mean, obviously your football coaches were one of
yes,
them.
the best coach
of course.
in North County, San Diego, sitting across from me
Soccer.
right here. Hope he's inducted in the Hall of
Aside
Fame.
from that, what else?
I think I was saying sports. Like it's
Yeah.
just the sports environment here is incredible. I think obviously I did not play in college, so I wasn't this athletic prowess. But the great thing about Santa Fe is that you can compete at a high level and get league championships. I played in the CIF finals for both volleyball and football.
Let's
I
not talk
lost
about
them
how
both.
that one ended.
But just fond memories of bonding with teammates over that and the work and sweat and tears that you put into that. But I mean, it shapes you, and it's fun to reflect back on those and still remember the skills you learned from good coaches and other
come
stuff.
on. I was kidding about the coaching thing. But I did ask you, Bradley, when you sat down, I said, did you bring your mom's cookies?
I did not.
Yeah. So
I thought about it on the way
that was
over.
a miss. That was a miss.
And I was like, should I turn around, go back and get them? We
You
have some
should
in the freezer.
I'd have waited. We could have started
And,
late.
Well, had I known that you'd be 10 minutes late, maybe I would have. But
Wow,
if
called
we're-
out.
Yeah.
So
calling each other
for
out.
people who don't know, the Searle cookies are sort of legendary around
They
this
are.
place. It's like if there's a bag of those that comes to school, everything stops.
Mm-hmm.
You stop teaching, you just run before they're pretty
are,
awesome.
They are
So,
sugary goodness.
Yeah.
We actually won Senior Business Week because of those cookies. Well, that's not completely fair. Cal Roberts' dad owned Flippin' Pizza at the
Yes,
time. So we
right.
did pizza and cookies.
Yeah.
I think my mom gave them to us for free.
Yeah.
$1 a pop.
You basically got free
With
pizza
inflation.
and free cookies.
Yeah.
Like so you have zero cost.
Yep.
Yeah,
Exactly.
maybe
I
it's a
did
solid
Flippin'
business.
Pizza too for
Exactly.
our business.
Did
and
you
we
win?
also won.
Wow.
Well, obviously,
I sense
because
a
you
theme.
looked up
I
to him
sense a
so
theme.
much.
But
His
we
mom
also,
also makes
we
amazing cookies.
delivered Starbucks to the
I
local
do remember
businesses.
that. Yeah. So
Wow,
so
you
we
guys
had a
are
group this year that
innovative.
came in that pitched coffee, and we shared that with them actually. Like, hey, you're not thinking big enough here. Like we've had groups in the past that would like take business orders, and they were just like, oh my gosh, we're gonna go next level. So you're still inspiring.
Which I can't take credit for that. I think that was my brother's group that initially did that.
Yeah. Well, he did all the good Buchanan things first.
Yeah, that's true. And then there's me, middle child, just
And
forgotten.
Craig. Don't forget Craig.
And then
All right.
Yes.
We love Craig.
So let's start with why do we have the two of you here together? So you guys were really good friends going back how far?
So I would say we've known each other probably since childhood. Both of us, I think, would say our friendship didn't really blossom, as corny as that sounds. I think until second half of high school, we were both really good friends with Matt Bennett, another great alumni.
Oh, we love you, Matt Bennett, if you're listening.
Who's in Italy now. And I think just due to association, that's where it started.
Yeah.
And then really, I think, strengthened into college, and then here we are today still.
Yeah. Did you guys same college, different college? Talk about your kind of journey since Santa Fe, maybe each, because I mean you guys are still really good friends, and
We sure
like what
are.
I'm getting at is like that is unique about Santa Fe. I mean, for
Yes.
my class too, I'm unfortunately like 10 years past you guys, but still have a really good group of Santa Fe friends that I would say are some of my core friends, which I know is true for you guys. So maybe share a little bit about each of your individual journeys and why that bond has stayed that you created at Santa Fe.
Sure, I'll start.
Go for it.
So I went to Cal or UC Berkeley, however you want to know it. I honestly didn't know it as UC Berkeley till I went there. And I always knew it as Cal for the athletics. It's like Cal and UCLA. So went there, and then I remember we pretty early on, I think, had a scheduled call every Friday, I want to say, that we would just check in, catch up on each other, how the week was, just some organic accountability.
How did you think to do that?
I'm trying to remember, like, what spawned that?
Andrew is one of the most intentional people I've ever met.
That's true.
It's unbelievable. I sometimes pride myself on maintaining relationships, friendships long distance, and having these scheduled calls, but he's next level. He's unbelievable. I was telling his wife this the other day that I've had a lot of friends over the years. Friends come and go. You know that. There's seasons for everything. But Buck, as I call him, is one of the most intentional friends I've had.
Well, thank you.
Which is amazing. It's a good quality to have.
Yeah. So I guess continuing that, after college, then moved out to Austin, Texas, hence the reference to these, where I went on staff with Campus Crusade and Athletes in Action, or CREW and AIA for short, at UT, mentoring student athletes and fraternity guys. So I did that for 2 years. Loved it. Neat. I think coming out of college, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I didn't want the official 9-to-5 desk job quite yet. And I was really involved as a student when I was at Cal. Really was impactful in my spiritual journey and maturity in my walk with Jesus. And thought, why don't I take 1 to 2 years, move to a new city, and figure it out from there. And I guess backing up, Brad and I, when we were beginning to graduate, had talked about, hey, should we move to a new city together after college and see what that is? So I'll kick it over to you because you're a year older than me, and it's a funny story for where we came up with that idea and why we picked Austin.
So I think it must have been spring of 2015.
Correct, yeah.
Did you graduate in 15 or 16? Graduated in 16.
16, so it would have been that summer leading up to
it. Getting old. Can't even remember my years.
Are you even 30 yet?
Yeah, getting there.
Okay.
Getting there. Yeah, I'm knocking. Spring of 2016, we're in a hot tub, which is how all good stories start. Of course. In Del Mar at an Airbnb. Your parents had rented it.
Yeah.
We were hanging out. I was like, dude, I'm graduated. I live in San Diego. You're about to graduate. You're probably going to come back here. We both know we're going to end up in San Diego. Like, how can you beat this?
Yeah.
But I do want to see what the other side of the 5 looks like, you know? So
just a little bit east.
Yeah. We decided that's what we were going to do. We took 3 weeks to pray about it individually. What's our top 3 spots? There's a lot of threes. This is very biblical symbolism. Unintentional.
So what were they? It was Austin?
Mine was Austin. I think Nashville.
I thought Boston was in there
Boston,
too. Yeah.
Or Denver.
I mean,
they're
all great spots.
Three trendy cities.
I love all those spots. Yeah.
And so came back. Both our number ones were Austin. I took a vision trip out there and fell in love. Moved out a few months earlier than you did, and both lived out there for about 3 years.
Yeah. Okay. And what were you doing out there in Austin?
I went to Westmont.
Yeah.
Studied accounting, and unlike a lot of people my age, I actually used my degree for my job, which is crazy. I know, it's wild. Studied accounting, came back here, got my CPA, then moved out to Austin, worked at a tax internship. I was 2 or 3 years out of college, and still I was an intern, just because I kept on shifting. Do I want to do tax or audit? And I remember coming back to Santa Barbara and visiting my first internship, and they coined me the 40-year-old intern. I was like, okay, easy, guys. I'm still figuring out what I want to do. I'm only 22.
That's good.
But in Austin, made a lot of great friends. I actually lived in a 3-story house with 24 other Christians.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes, it was insane. It was essentially a Christian frat house for people that weren't in college, post-college. And we had gals on the first floor.
It was right next to campus, too.
Yeah, it was about a mile from UT. Gals on the first floor, guys on the second and third. Met some of my best friends, Joanne, Amy, Drew, Scott, Tyler. I could name
get all the shout-outs in.
Exactly. Not that any of them are going to listen to this.
They better. You better forward it to them.
I will now. Sorry for those that I forgot. And Buck and I maintained a really good relationship through those 3 years. And let's see, after the internship, I got a full-time job.
All right.
Which was amazing.
Congratulations.
I did it. Yes, the Lord provides. And I worked with PricewaterhouseCoopers, which is a Big Four accounting firm. Worked my butt off for a year and a half, worked 60, 70, 80 hours a week. Got to the point where I had a little side business, a sprouted nut company, a healthy snack company, of all things.
True to Searle form.
Yes.
Searle family norms.
We've always been on the healthier side of eating.
Minus the cookies.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was like the splurge. That's why they're so good, because all of the unhealthy energy went straight into the cookies.
All of it.
Yeah.
All of it. Yes. So I was working 60, 70, 80 hours a week, and it came to a head when I slept in my car. So it was the filing day for a 10K, and I lived about 45 minutes away. And we were done at 2 a.m., and I had to be back there at 9 a.m., and I did the math, and I'm like, it's not worth driving home. So I'm doing it. So I had my little Toyota Camry curled up in the back, and then made a comment the next day, like, if you guys notice, I'm in the same clothes as yesterday. Like, I did put deodorant on, I did brush my teeth.
Sure.
But that was the time I knew it was time to move on.
Okay.
I didn't want to be an investment banker or anyone where you work ton of hours, you eventually make a ton of money. During those busy seasons, I would come home and my roommates would be like, dude, you are a skeleton of yourself. And I just didn't want that life.
So what are you doing now? How'd you transition out of that life?
Great question. So I moved out to Santa Barbara for a hot minute and worked for a medical management company. We managed different surgery centers in Southern California, and we did all their books and all their HR and all these outsourced different tasks, I guess. And then I moved down to San Diego, and I was working for 24 Hour Fitness. I got hired in March of 2020.
Oh, gosh.
Yes, the
Timed it
first
right.
week of March 2020.
Did you ever set foot in a building over there?
I did. So for my interview, went in, had a 4-hour-long interview. I think it was half an hour with 8 different people.
Yeah.
And I remember going back and just
Yeah.
conking out on the couch. I was like, that was terrible. I hope I did all right. But they ended up hiring me for whatever reason. Worked in the revenue department of the accounting department. And right 2 weeks after I got hired, COVID hit.
Yeah.
So my new colleagues that I just met and fresh faces, all of a sudden like that, I'm working from home and doing Zoom training and all that stuff, which got old really quick.
Yeah.
So I did that for about a year, which was a great experience with COVID and revenue recognition. And then also they went bankrupt.
Yeah.
And came out of bankruptcy recently, which was a lot of really good experience. And I guess I'll kick it over to you.
You didn't say what you're doing now.
Okay, I didn't know if we were going there yet. I felt like
I
don't want to dominate the conversation.
No.
Okay, so I was at 24 Hour Fitness, and we had been going into the office, me and my boss and my boss's boss. It's like a 200-person office, only 3 of us. It was great, though, because those are my direct reports. Had a lot of fun, and then they said, spring of 2021, you can't come in the office anymore. And that was a bummer, because I really enjoyed going in part-time, working from home part-time. Worked from home, and was only working about 4 hours a day. And I hope my bosses don't listen to this, but I kept on asking them, what can I do? I need more work. I'm not working enough. And it's not good for a guy my age to work 4 hours a day but be paid a full salary. And I was working out. You can attest
sounds
to
really
this.
rough.
He got really into CrossFit.
Tough.
Work out twice
wow.
a day. I was like,
I was a
hey,
CrossFit coach
must
on
be
the
nice.
side.
Yeah.
I worked out about 10 times a week.
Yeah.
So physically I was growing, but intellectually, professionally, not so much. I got a call from a friend, or a text, and he says, my friend has a really great business opportunity for you. And immediately, you guys know where I'm going with that? What I thought?
Amway.
MLM.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
I was like, dude, I love essential oils, use them all the time, but I don't want to sling them full time.
Yeah.
So he's like, no, it's a real legitimate business. And I was like, okay, hook me up. The guy's name is Michael Seifert, the friend of the friend. And he started a company called Public Square. And it's an app that we just launched. So I ended up coming on board.
Yeah.
It wasn't Amway or doTERRA.
Well, we'll see afterwards if you try to get us to,
Exactly.
sign up to
Exactly.
Public Square's
buy the
new.
sales
We do
kit.
have an affiliate pipeline.
Yeah, right.
And I'm trying to grow my downline. So Public Square is a freedom-loving app. We are essentially a Yelp and a Nextdoor, but for those with more traditional American values. So I work with Public Square, and it's super exciting. I help out with finances, with the sales. We're a team of around 100, and we started a year ago, so we're growing quick.
Yeah.
And it's been a lot of fun because I had the healthy snack business and I had a partner, but mostly it was just me. And it was hard being an entrepreneur with all the ups and downs and not really feeling like you had a team by you. And now it's way different. We have a team, we have our 6 core, and then we have, like I mentioned, quite a few others that have been on this journey, and it's growing, and we're excited. We're launching into other cities. And I'm not going to sell you on our affiliate model, but it's a really cool job and has a purpose that's deeper than selling gym memberships to people that don't go.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was one of those people.
Yeah. So. Yes. Well, thank you for your money.
I think 24-hour fitness actually like suspended my membership during COVID or something.
Okay.
I stopped paying.
Okay.
But I've never called to actually cancel, but I don't pay
But they're
anymore.
probably paying. Oh, they're not charging you.
They're not charging me.
Wow.
Like, I don't know if
great.
it's I don't know. So
we were supposed to put everyone on freeze until their club opens up, and then you start charging them
Okay, that's
again.
interesting because I think they just reopened the one closest to me.
Okay,
So
you might
maybe
want to
I should
counsel.
check. I should probably
You
call.
might want to
Check
save
the
some
credit card
dollars.
statement.
Yeah, because
$20 a
clearly
month
I'm not
going somewhere.
working out much, but that's another podcast.
Hey, you got the gym over here.
Yeah, it's
You
there.
got it
I
on
mean,
the
you know,
it is there.
It's apparently far from my office.
Not that you use it.
Andrew, what about you? So you came. You were in Austin.
Yep.
You were doing
So
AIA.
yeah, how I got to Austin. I mean, cool. I think as Brad said, as we were praying about how to end up there, just I think the Lord led us both there separately, and I had got connected with the campus staff or campus director, whatever title we want to call them now, there, and they had a need for. They didn't have a lot of fresh college grads who had come out to staff yet. They had some other males, but they were just older, so they had to say, "Hey, we need someone to. We'd love for someone to come out and work with the." Young men in college. So that was a cool, I felt that as like, okay, great, let's go for it, move to a new city. So that took me out there. I enjoyed doing that for 2 years, loved it. I kind of coined it as almost a quote unquote master's in evangelism of just how do I learn to disciple others and share my faith in a relatable way, not a clunky, overly churchy vernacular, just in a common conversational way, learn how to talk about Jesus or explore other people's spiritual journeys. And what better way to do that than with college students, because that's when we're all figuring out life, and great time to answer those questions. So, but after that, in that role, as much as I loved working with college students, they're also hard to work with. They're very flaky and scheduling's tough. So I'm a very type A personality, 3 on the Enneagram, so very achievement driven.
You know, I work with high school students.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
just throwing that.
so
out.
you know that very well. It's probably a little bit tougher. So I kind of felt, okay, I knew I want to go into the marketplace at some point. So I didn't want to leave Austin just yet. So like any person living in Austin, young millennial, I joined the tech scene. So I worked for Box.com.
Obvious next step. Yeah.
So it was in inside sales for them, which was great training and experience. But coupled with, as I was working through that job, while I enjoyed it, neat culture, I knew software sales was very transactional, so I wanted something that was a bit more relationship driven, and then I wasn't sure how much longer I wanted to be in Austin. So that coincided with meeting my now wife, who she was from Austin. She was on staff with Crew as well, so we had worked on the same team together. And then she, oddly enough, actually went to Regents School of Austin, where Rod used to work before coming to
our
Santa
head of schools,
Fe.
Mr. Gilbert, was the head of schools before
Yes,
coming here.
so
Yes.
crazy small world.
Yeah.
I think he came over to be head of schools here maybe right after I had 2016 or 2017. I don't know when it was, but it was when I was in Austin, and we somehow
18.
put that together. Man, what are the chances of that? So that was a neat connection. Anyways, to keep it brief, found a job out here that moved my wife and I out here. So it's with Marsh and McLennan Agency. So we do, trying to think of the easiest way to say it. Risk management is the fun way of saying it.
Yeah.
The less sexy way is I'm a business insurance broker. So handle all the liability for a lot of life science, digital health, and technology companies, both here in San Diego, but also throughout the country. Austin has some clients in New York. So that brought us back here in fall of 2019. So yeah, here I've been loving that job. It's fun. Still I guess it is a sales role, but it's much more relationship focused as opposed to just slinging software, as they say in the technology industry.
And you have a little one.
Two little ones, 18-month-old and a 4-month-old.
Okay,
so
that's right. Gosh,
we're in that journey, which is super fun and exciting.
Do you need some more coffee?
It's funny, I still don't drink coffee, even with 2 young kids. So
I didn't start till 35.
There you go. I have a few years to get there, so maybe. So that's been a fun new journey, but I was reflecting even just driving up Academy Drive, as I did for so many years, like, you thought life was so complicated then.
Yeah.
And now at this stage, I mean, just any stage as you go up, not that it's just different seasons and the different stresses of life. I'm like, man, life was so simple in high school. Like, I was stressing about taking an AP government test.
Right. I mean, it didn't feel simple at the time.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. So in the moment, because you don't know any different.
Yeah, your whole universe is.
But it's just interesting to think as you go through life and just the different journeys and seasons of, certain things in school, middle school, high school prepare you for what you go into. But
so what did? What are some things for each of you in your Santa Fe journey that, like, you look back on and you feel like that was really like, maybe I didn't even know it at the time, but that was actually a really good skill or very grounding that I still depend on.
Yeah, I think back to athletics, just a testament to you and just other coaches. You guys cared more about molding me as a man as opposed to my athletic performance on either the court or the field, respectively for football or volleyball. So I think I took that to heart. It wasn't, hey, I'm equipping you or pouring into you because I know you can perform well on the athletic field. It was more, in addition to that, I want to make sure you're growing in authentic manhood. So there were some Bible studies that coaches did that I think really focused on that and cared more about the character and development of us as opposed to just winning games or championships, I guess. And I think too, the authenticity of teachers we still have a friendship, and it's 10 years,
which you've been very intentional about. To your point. So
or just with Coach Rosetta or some of the other coaches, it's neat, and I think that's unique from my time in college or even friends in Austin. It's unique to still have those relationships here that I think is a special thing about Santa Fe. And I think for me personally, when was this? So I had a knee surgery gone wrong. When was that? 2011. That was
your
just
senior year, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. You had
spring
the big
of junior
thing
year.
around your leg. Yeah.
So knee surgery. To not get in the weeds on that. Anyways, the surgery did not go as planned. So complications that made the recovery much longer. Prevented me from playing part of the senior football season. And then right in the midst of that season, my mom was diagnosed with cancer too. So that was just like a heavy year in the Buchanan family that we felt so loved and supported by the Santa Fe family, and just with meals or people checking in. I mean, I still, when I come on campus, half the faculty ask, how are you doing? How's your mom doing with stuff? So that's just neat that people still, I think, remember that and care. That's, I think, shaped my perspective in life and going into things. And then just the community aspect here, the familiar aspect, is something that I look to, I want to emulate with friends, like our friendship here with Brad or just with others of, I think what I took as commonplace or normal when I went to college at Cal realized, oh, this is not the normal high school experience.
Yeah, like people don't talk about their high school in the same way.
No, certainly not.
Yeah, and they're not friends with people from high school like we are.
Yeah. So, I would say that launched me well. And I think just the biblical teaching and foundation. I mean, it's hard. I was telling someone else here, Dawn, that, I feel in high school and middle school, you get a ton of good foundational teaching, Bible verse memory, or just education in the realm of walking with Jesus and Christianity, in that sense. And I think once you go to college, it's then the figuring out, okay, am I going to choose to believe this that I've been taught and gone to church about or heard from my teachers, or am I going to choose to do something else? Yeah. And certainly every student has that opportunity that I think Santa Fe equips you well enough to, once you go off to college or after college, to work out your faith in that way and determine it. But I appreciate the good, strong foundation that it comes from. Certainly there's pros and cons to that, because it can get a little numb or dumbed down just because you've heard it so much. So it can just feel mechanical. But I think that was part of my journey in college, was figuring out, okay, is this moralism faith to me? Am I actually choosing it to be on authentic relationship with Jesus as opposed to just rule following religiosity? Here's what I know the right things to do are. Am I doing that out of an understanding of my sin and need for Jesus and the redemptive forgiveness and grace he gives, or just because it's Pharisee-like.
Right.
Check
a
the
sense
box.
of legalism. This is what I'm supposed to do.
Exactly. And so I think that's a pro-con to a place like any Christian school of how do you have the right headspace to understand that, where my wiring was very much more rule follower. I'm the best because I did everything right. Yeah. Which quickly that crumbles when you start to get through life and realize, okay, God doesn't love me because I did everything correct.
Or I'm doing all the right things and I'm still dealing with this tragedy or this difficult thing. And wait a sec, I thought it was all supposed to work out great, right?
Yeah. Well, that whole knee surgery recovery thing, that for me was where that initially had that view of, okay, well, God, I did everything right. Why didn't I recover faster, or why didn't I maybe get more playing time or more success on the field? I earned this because I went through the trials of a tough knee surgery type of thing, and realizing that's not necessarily how God works. I mean, for certain situations, sure, but did I choose to walk with Him through that? So that I feel that springboarded my journey with Jesus.
Awesome. Bradley, what about you?
Me. That's a really good point. That Santa Fe Christian for me was building that foundation. But college was the proving grounds.
Yeah.
Right? You're not in your house anymore. You have complete freedom, whatever that means, to do the right thing or to do the wrong thing. And so when I went to college, I had a very different college experience going to Westmont, which is essentially a bigger Santa Fe. But
Westmont and Berkeley, very different approaches.
Yes, very different sides of the spectrum. But still, any college, you're going to find temptation to go off the deep end, to just give into your flesh, and I experienced that, and I relied on what I learned, not only through Santa Fe, but through my parents as well, growing up, being in their house for 18 years, seeing how they love each other, how they love God, how they read the Word, how they pray, how they talk to God, and then going to college and being like, oh man, I'm on my own. And like Buck alluded to, is this my parents' faith? Is this Mr. Litz or Mr. Lyons, Mr. Kim's faith, or is this my faith? Yeah. And so that was the decision I had to make when I went to Westmont. Ended up making the right one and saying this is my faith, and it hasn't been a perfect journey since then by any means, but it was definitely a good experience to have that foundation, be like, no, this is what I believe, and those, like you mentioned, scripture memories that I can call that to mind, that is the truth, not what you're telling me to do.
Yeah.
Which in the moment you're like, why did I have to memorize this dang verse? Right. Like you're sitting there, but it's wild to remember. It's like there's verses now. I'm like, this was Mr. Litz or Mr. Garcia. Yeah. Like, wow, okay, this actually means something to me now.
I always say the same thing. Like, for better or worse, most of the scripture that I know by memory, I learned at Santa Fe. Yeah. And I don't know if that's an indictment of like my failure to memorize stuff. But even the stuff that's like, I gotta learn this in 5 minutes because there's a quiz, right? Yep. Like it comes back to you all of a sudden in crazy times.
Which I think at the age, middle school, high school age, just from the developmental standpoint, you don't realize maybe how is this going to be applicable to me later in life. But
teenagers never ask that question.
Yeah, but it's cool to see from the faculty standpoint, or once you get even in the college, like, oh, okay, I'm either really stressed about this, or I'm wrestling with
it comes back.
How do I navigate the party scene and hookup culture? What does Scripture say about that?
Yep.
There's plenty of verses to reference from that. It's like, okay, am I going to believe this or not, or just think this is an archaic verse from centuries ago, type of thing.
And going back to your original question, Mike, you alluded to a master's in evangelism. I think you called it in Austin. I would say I had an undergrad in discipleship with Chris White.
Yeah,
I don't know if
Mr. White loved
Mr. White is an amazing man. He was probably only my age when I graduated.
Yeah.
He was pretty young.
Totally. Yeah.
So I had him in 8th grade for science, and then he took a group of 10 to 12 of us and led us through those 5 years, 8th grade to senior year. And we'd meet every week and we'd go through the Bible and we'd ask him hard questions and he'd be totally transparent and honest. And he was like a brother to me, but more important, like he was a spiritual mentor to me. Yeah. And it really showed me the path of how do I lead other guys who are maybe a step or two behind me in their walk. And Chris White, if you're listening to this, love you. I owe you a call. Hope you and Eileen are doing well.
So do I.
We all do. Let's just get on the conference call right now.
But that's actually a good segue of like, who are some adults that were mentors to you that you are still connected with?
So Chris is a big one, just because he was consistent. It wasn't just 8th grade and, okay, I'm going to move on to the next class next year. It was 8th grade through senior year, 5 years of pretty tough times. Like, those are some tough years
Which just for people who don't know, like, that's just a teacher doing something above and beyond their job description because they care, which happens here all the time. Like he doesn't get paid extra.
No, not
for
at all.
spending 5 years.
If anything, he was buying us pizza.
Yeah, right.
He's losing out. But we would go over to his house and just crash his place as smelly, stinky, rowdy 17-year-olds. There's 12 of us and one of him. So sure it was hurting cats at some point. But he was really, really influential in my life. Fast forward a few years. I'd say there's seasons for everything, right? So I moved to Austin, had a great mentor, James, out there. Moved back to San Diego, and I have a couple mentors. One's name is Don. He's 50-something. He has kids my age. He's a great guy. We meet every Tuesday morning. We've been going through Luke for the last couple years, so we take it real slow, really dive in, which is awesome. But he's one of those guys who I can just call up and say, Don, I'm experiencing this at work, or I have to let someone go. How do I do that with grace and love? Or I'm really tempted by this situation. Can you speak into my life? Because like you were mentioning the question of how does this affect me when I'm older, that's something that I am thinking now that I wasn't 10 years ago.
For sure.
Of if I make this decision, what kind of path does that lead me on? And just someone that's seen a lot more life and that has loved his wife and loved God pretty much his whole life. It's amazing to have that. And it got to the point where I needed a place to live. And he and his wife said, sure, you can live with us. So I stayed with them for almost 6 months, which they had never done to that point. But yeah, we go to the same church, and just a true man of God that I want to be when I'm his age.
Awesome. What about you? In particular, adults like from Santa Fe that you're still connected with.
Yeah.
Present company excluded.
Yeah, there you go. I would say Doug Miller, the AD here. You know, grew up, Reed and I have been childhood friends. So Doug and Cammie specifically, I always say they were like second parents to me. They came alongside us and our just family through that season with my knee surgery stuff and my mom's cancer in 2011, and just have been close with them ever since. So that would be someone from here that still love to see and keep in touch with. Coach Rosetta would be another one. I don't know if he listens to these. I doubt he would, but Coach, if you are, shout out for you.
If he started listening, he's not still listening.
Yeah, certainly. He definitely didn't make it this far in. I think too, similar to Brad, moving to Austin, two people. One, he's my now father-in-law, Warren. So we would meet. He worked with Crew as well for years. So even before I started dating Rachel, we would meet weekly. So he's a great godly man of wisdom. And then Dave McCallion, who I think you actually know from your SC days.
Yeah, he was my Campus Crusade director at USC.
Wow. Yeah. So him and his family moved to Austin about the same time that I did. So we got reconnected. He's a family friend of ours. So he did our premarital counseling. Still try to keep in touch with him. They're going to be out here in the next few weeks, actually. And then trying to think. Moving back here, that's definitely something that I still am finding. And I think in the season with young kids too, so just making time and availability for that is something that I want to be better at. There's one-off kind of catch up every few times a year with some folks. Well, that's obviously my father-in-law or parents certainly still view my dad and father-in-law as good mentors. But others like a Dave or finding one here, there's some great men at my church, but that's an area where I'm like, okay, I want to grow more in that. And where I can learn from Brad that he has that steady meeting with Dawn is something like, okay, I'd love to get something similar to that. Just because as you go through stages in life, certainly I see value in always wanting someone that's a few years ahead that you can just ask questions from. So as I'm in that stage of a young family, hey, who are some people that are in the kids are in the kind of 5 to 10 range or soon to be teenagers, just to see what were your parenting techniques, what were your discipline techniques as we're soon to be in that stage.
Happy to share ours as examples of what not to do, like processing.
And you got 2 girls, and I have 2 girls too.
There we go. Yeah, there we go.
As soon to be neighbors, we'll come over and have
I know.
Plenty of
so
talk, I'm sure.
Andrew is moving like a mile from me. You said tomorrow is moving day. Okay,
big day. How old are your kids?
7 and 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I think you found your match.
I mean, I don't have answers yet, but I'll gladly ask the questions alongside you.
Perfect.
Maybe together.
Yeah.
We'll find someone with the answers.
Yeah.
All right. So how would you say, like, you've now been friends for, gosh, probably 15 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
At least.
What about your friendship, like thinking back to your time at Santa Fe, is the same, and what has changed?
So I would say in a good and bad way, it's gotten obviously deeper over the years, just as we've gone through life together, through certain seasons, through relationships, for sure. And I would say in high school or even college, like we're both heavy competitors. So I think a lot of our friendship was working out together or competing together, which was fun, but at the same time also trying to like beat each other and finding glory in that. Yeah. And I think we've both...
You're stronger than me, but I can jump higher.
Yeah, like stuff like that. And I think we've both...
So stupid.
In recent years come to a realization like that is not any benefit to anyone. Like let's just encourage each other in when we work out together or play beach volleyball, as opposed to get really frustrated at each other and just try to beat each other like we're each other's younger brother.
He's stronger for sure. Any day of the week.
So, and I think we've both had seasons in relationships just with, like, pre-Rachel, there was a girlfriend of mine that Rachel wasn't fond of either.
Yeah.
Brad wasn't fond of either, and just I
remember that, and you didn't tell me you had friends that weren't fond of
this
person.
And he was saying now too, he'd rather bluntly just said it, I'm not a fan of her, which is like, wow, that came just coming right at it. But
hopefully there was some love.
Yeah, I think that there was, maybe the delivery wasn't the best, but there was love behind it type of thing.
Is this turning into therapy?
No. It's like we've already processed through that.
I lack tact.
But sometimes. But just working through the tension of that for sure. And just I think the stage we're in now of the young professional careers we're in, and the season as married and young family type of thing of that, and just how do we continue to be authentic and check in with each other, of him asking, hey, how's your relationship with Rachel going? Or I think we still try to ask, how's your time in the Word going, or what are you learning? Just basic questions like that I think as men aren't common questions that we ask each other or choose to, because we often hang on the surface level.
Right.
Just to be intentional in asking those and going there, because it's easy just to, for the years of friendship that we've had, just to coast and do shared fun activities together, as opposed to get on the heart level with each other.
Yeah. Awesome.
Amen. I agree. What he said. No, I don't have too much to add, but just piggybacking off what you said, it used to be a friendship where we were very competitive. We would also build each other up, but there was a lot of competition. Even I remember when we were dating, it's like, who's going to date first, and who's got the prettier girlfriend, and who's going to get married first, and all this stuff. And we've come to a point, just with a lot of stuff in my life that's happened, and some stuff in your life as well, that we're here to build each other up. We're on the same team. We have each other's backs. There's enough in the world that's going to try to tear us down, especially as believers, that the purpose of our friendship is to glorify God and to bring us both closer to Him. So we don't do that perfectly, but we sure have a lot of fun chatting and playing volleyball and lifting weights.
Yeah. Thank you guys both. Like, this has been a ton of fun.
Yeah.
So it's pretty wild to think back to first getting to know you guys. When I was first an employee here, and you guys were in school, and I think the vibe was actually pretty similar. But I'm glad it's still there. Like, this was a ton of fun, and just really proud of you guys. And you represent our school really, really well. And it means a lot that you'd come back and share a little bit about your journey since. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us. It's been an honor. I hope we did Santa Fe justice.
You did great. I mean, next time I expect the cookies. I do expect the cookies next time.
I will bring those.
Yeah,
shortly.
So it's like a 98%.
Have my mom.
So, all right. Well, and thank you to those of you out there listening and or watching us. And if this is your first time joining us, thank you so much for listening to our Eagle Perspective podcast. We have more alumni coming, and we have other episodes that we've got posted to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and elsewhere where podcasts are available. Check us out, and we look forward to seeing you next time.